Good morning, nation. John here. We are 100% live this morning. At least we should be. If y'all can throw me a 5x5, which just means, can you see me? I look a little shadowy where I'm at. I'm wearing a hat here, son. And can you hear me okay before we get started this morning? Feels good to be live. Been a crazy week. Just a bunch of stuff going on here on my end. Thank y'all for the 5x5s. I appreciate it very much. Joni, I'm glad you're here. Let me show y'all this real quick. Look what Joni sent over. Can y'all see it? Isn't that fantastic? I didn't hang it yet, Joni, because I wanted to show everybody in chat that, but it's going right over here. There's a light over here, believe it or not, and it's going under the light. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So thank y'all for being here. Of course, moderators, Beaverine faithful, and even you newbies, if you're new, of course, please keep everything inside the ride at all times till we come to a stop. Anything that flaps around, keep it inside. Who's in the house before we get going here? Nana and I think Mame's in here. Thank y'all for being here. Poor Country Living is here. Stang Man, I'm guessing Mustang. VR Lab Girl's here. Welcome back, Bama Jen. I saw you in chat earlier. Ivan the Terrible is up in the house. Gary's here. Patriot Gamer. How we doing? Kill it and grill it. How are you? Prepper Cowboy, I am riding dirty. I know you normally ask. I'm riding filthy this morning, actually. I'm like a filthy animal off of, what is that, Home Alone? So anyway, Tina, how you doing? Jess Lowry, good morning. And Dynamite was the first one in the house. Congrats on that. I wrote it down, brother. Congrats. Going Heel, Jen Boyles is up in here. Mad Mama, Independent Marine, how you doing, buddy? So there was an incident yesterday morning. I'm sure y'all know what incident I'm talking about. It was in the Brooklyn subway. Horrible. You don't want to see it. We need more slow mode. Okay. Hold on, Nana. Hold on. Y'all give me a second. I'll slow it on down like a slow dance or something at a sock cop here. I'm not a computer nerd, so it does take me a second. I apologize about that. All right. Let's go with 60. Y'all get to see the scrambling around in real time here. I love lives. There we go. That should help you out a little bit, Nana. Sorry about that. So the incident happened yesterday morning. Don't want to see it happen. I think the mayor, what's his name, Eric Adams, he's just an unsafe mayor. New York has not been safe for a while, and they're not the only city. But this guy really seems to not get it in terms of public safety. That place is a war zone. And of course, on social media, within 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, there was a trending hashtag gun reform now. And this kind of, thank you, the line, this kind of blew my mind because I'm sitting here thinking these people are yelling for gun reform now. And this took place in New York City. They have some of the strictest gun laws, if I'm not mistaken, in our country. So this should not be happening whatsoever in New York City. It's illegal. But the thing is, criminals, they don't care. They're good. This guy, I don't think he was from New York City. He drove in. I'm not sure where he came from. I don't even know that they've caught him yet, but they've identified him and they're looking for him. So he was a criminal. He drove in. He knew what he was doing. He meant to do harm. I don't really blame the gun. This is personal opinion on my part. You know, I have guns. Yes, I have them, folks. Some people say, can you show them off? I've shown off probably 75% of them in various chats for a few seconds here and there. Fry one goat. Thank you. So I was alerted by my banks and credit cards that I need to update my financial income info or accounts would be frozen due to the Patriot Act. So to give you some advice on this, I would go to the bank in person. I would not do this online. I would not click any sort of links or anything in case that's a scam. If that is truly the case, you need to go and try and do that in person, okay, to make sure that's legit. But, you know, it could be legit. these gun laws that they have in bigger cities, New York City is just one, there are others. They don't hinder criminals. Criminals are gonna do what criminals are gonna do. A piece of paper with, somebody's signature on it making it illegal, that's not gonna stop these people. What this does, again, in my opinion, is these laws put citizens in a really bad spot. So I saw the footage. It's over on Twitter. I mean, it is graphic. But when the shots rang out, people were running, they were screaming. You could tell they're all helpless. They don't know what to do in this situation. And the first thing that popped into my mind was, this wouldn't fly where I live. I can promise you every 5 or 6 people that I see, like we don't have a Subway here, but every 5 or 6 people that you see, they're carrying, you know, either the person personally and that they're concealing, or they're open carrying in the wide open. So this would have been over very fast in my area, because here people shoot back. And that's the problem. Okay, Fry Goat. Yeah, verified with bank. It's legitimate. I would go and do it in person still yet. This is just me. But yeah, the Patriot Act, I'm not a huge fan of it to begin with. Good morning, OFC. So what this does, it kind of bootstraps citizens. It makes them less safe. Okay, if gun reform actually worked, we could have the discussion. But criminals, they don't care about legislation. You can't legislate this problem. This is a moral problem. This is somebody that wants to do harm. They're going to do it one way or the other. I mean, this guy was nuts, apparently. And this kind of stuff is going to continue to happen. We were just talking about this last week. It's not just going to be New York City. It's not just going to be specifically in cities. Now, if you're in a city, I would encourage you to at least consider making a move, as they say, come out of her, my people, which makes total sense. But I get the other side of the argument. Some people were born and raised in New York City. That's their home. So something that conservatives, I don't think, realize is this would be somebody walking up to you and saying, you don't like the United States of America anymore, just leave, go somewhere else, go somewhere where it seems better. But as an American, you don't want to leave. This is your home. So some people have this mindset, and they want to stay in their cities. That's their home. Or they have family in the cities, and the family, they're not willing to leave. So there are circumstances, but for God's sake, if you're going to stay in the cities at this point, you have to be able to defend yourself. Okay, lawmakers cannot help you, period. They're not going to help you. Folks, whether it's New York City, whether it's at the state or even the federal level, these people are not going to be able to legislate their way out of this problem. It's just not going to happen. Biden's already making another run on the guns, and he made a comment that he was just getting started. So that's something to think about. I should have linked it down below. In the bigger cities, especially, police can't help you. There are too many people. Think about it. Times are desperate. People are on edge anyway, because of the pandemic, because of what I consider to be the depression, the opening stages. Now they're calling it a recession. Personally, I think it's a depression, but whatever. The point is, people are on edge. It doesn't take much to set people off. Now take millions of these people and pile them up in a city. There aren't enough police officers. Even if they were able to do their job, which they're not, most of them are handcuffed, by lawmakers right now, or mayors or whatever. But even if they were cut loose to do their job, there's still not enough. Criminals are being slapped on the wrist. I mean, it is what it is. A lot of them are being released from jail because of overpopulation. There's this huge movement that we need to be nicer to criminals. We need to take a softer stance. And some of you, you're probably on both sides of the fence on that. But the fact is, a lot of these people that need to be in jail, they're not in jail, or they're only in there for a short period of time. Immigration is a huge problem. Okay, thank you, Laura. I did not know. She said the shooter is now in custody. That's good to know. Um, but I mean, immigration, and I get hate mail every time I bring up immigration. People think I'm trying to dehumanize, and I'm not. But the facts are the facts. We're letting tons of people into this country, and we have no idea what their background is. We have no idea what their ideology is. They may hate America, and they may be coming here to do harm. We don't know, but they're piling in nonetheless. Again, times are getting desperate, and people act crazy. When people are desperate, they act crazy. Okay. And so you need to be prepared. It's up to you to be prepared and to be able to take care of yourself. Um, Now, whether that's a gun, some people carry all the time. I know it. Y'all said it in the poll this morning. Some people don't like to carry guns, or maybe you're in an area where you can't carry a gun for whatever reason. They've taken that right away from you. Carry something. Something is better than nothing. A knife, a taser, pepper spray. Be situationally aware. Don't put yourself in a bad situation. Okay. Because a lot of times, I'm going to argue this morning, a lot of times bad things can be avoided if you're just paying attention. People all the time, I don't have my cell phone, it's in the kitchen, but people got their faces in their phones all the time and they're not aware of what's going on around them. That makes you a target if somebody's there to do harm. So I just want to mention that this morning to open up before we get going here. Um, yeah, we need to talk about that really quickly. We're going to talk about DeSantis as well, but yeah, the first busloads of immigrants from Texas have arrived in DC. So again, Abbott was not playing. That's it's going to go to court and things like that. It's going to be fought out in courts, but courts take time. And Texas, they don't have time. They're being overrun. So for the time being, they're dumping them off in DC, and let Joe take care of them. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. Absolutely. Um, so let me see here. Moving on. Home Depot, the co-founder, his name is, I wrote it down, Ken Langon. He is now predicting, smart guy, in case you want to Google it. He's a smart guy, and he is now agreeing with many of the major banks here in the United States of America. Bank of America just made this announcement a few days ago, but they're predicting the worst part, like the peak of our bad economy in 9 to 10 months, which tells me, if they're right, we have 9 or 10 more months of what we're seeing right now, kind of a slow decay, and then we're going to see total chaos around the beginning of the year financially, but the financial stuff leads to other chaos. The uptick in shoplifting and robbing and violence and stuff like this, it's going to continue to get worse. And then they're saying at the beginning of the year, it's going to kind of bottom out. They're saying that it's going to be worse than the recession under Jimmy Carter. But to be honest with you, I looked at the numbers, posted them to Patreon yesterday. The numbers are right on par with the first Great Depression in terms of the inflation rates and things, and the percentage amount that certain items have went up, right on par with the Great Depression. They're calling it a recession. Oh, tie time. Thank you, Ivan. Bama Jen, in honor of you being back here. Well, maybe. I'm rolling with the tide this morning. Hope you enjoyed your time away. There you go. Amber Z, good morning. How are you doing? It will. Amber Z, that's an excellent point. So the financial folks and the banks are telling you total chaos around the first of the year. And then that's kind of combined with the elections in November. I mean, it's going to be total chaos. You're exactly right. Toward the end of the year. And people are going to be upset, I think, with the outcome of the election either way. And this on top of the fact that what are we going to be paying for groceries at that point? You know what I mean? They're talking about some of the Democrats want to push more taxes now. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. At some point, you cross the line and we got to get down to business here, 1776 style. So Patriot Gamer says roll tide. Well, I missed it, brother. There you go. Somebody mentioned wasp spray. Yeah, anything. If you can fit it, anything, to the point where you're not helpless and you just have to try and run away. You want to be able to fight back somehow. Now I'm not sitting here telling you if there's a shooter and they have an automatic weapon or something, don't go up to, don't run toward that danger with wasps spray, but that's going to bail you out of certain situations. Uh, Shady parking garage or something, you know what I mean? So, yeah, have something. Um, Governor Ron DeSantis, y'all were just talking about the immigrants. He is signing a new state law, or not a state law, but a state budget, excuse me, July the 1st. And in the state budget, he's going to be doing the same thing as Texas. They've already got the money set aside for the buses. They're going to begin to bus illegals to DC and other cities as well. So I like this new trend. And again, I know I'm going to get hate mail for it. I don't really care. I do like this new trend, though, because up until this point, and Biden is not the only administration that has turned a blind eye to it. Now, they've done an incredible job at turning a blind eye to it. Trump did try and combat it a little bit. But this has been an ongoing problem for a while now. Up until now, the federal government, just forgets about it. The border's so far away, they don't worry about it. And I like this new trend where these states are kind of taking it into their own hands. And they're like, here, it's your problem. It's showing up at our border, but it's a federal problem. So here you go, Mr. Bleeding Heart Biden. Here, you take care of them. You figure out what to do. You put them up in shelters, or you pay for the hotels, or whatever the case may be. This benefits the citizens of states like Texas and Florida because they're not having to pay for these folks, at least short term. Again, this is going to be fought in the court system. Yeah, what government? I agree. The bitter critter, the puppet government that we have, the banana republic, if you will. But at least the governors are trying to do something about it. They're trying to save what is left of their state. And again, getting dragged out in the court system takes a long time, through appeals and stuff. So at least for a while, this is the federal government's problem in DC. So I wanted to mention that before we moved on. I thought that was awesome. It probably has something to do with the fact that DeSantis, he's pulled in more money, even more than Trump, for a possible election bid. He may be running for president, so that has something to do with it, I'm sure, but he is trying to do something. Rodney, John, read the fine print. If they don't volunteer, he can't take people to DC. Yeah, but that's the thing. The people coming here, they think the American dream. They're thinking, New York City, Los Angeles, they've seen it on TV, DC. I mean, why not DC? What a beautiful city that is. So a lot of these folks are willing, they're getting on there willingly. Hey, a free bus ride, a charter bus, nonetheless. So a lot of them are actually going. They're jumping on it. Houston. Somebody is saying Houston. Yeah, they've mentioned Houston. They've mentioned a bunch of different cities. The ones that are sanctuary cities, they specifically mentioned. They said, "Hey, you want to help them out? We'll help you out. We'll pay for the bus ride up there, so you can have your sanctuary city bliss." So, quickly, I want to mention I'm going to be driving up this evening to Virginia and going to be camping. Going to be going with Jack as far as I know. He's in. Caveman's out. Caveman's got to work. So any of the camping footage, Caveman's probably not going to be there, barring some sort of a miracle. But yeah, so I'll be out in the woods the next few days. I'm planning on being back in time for Shotgun Saturday night, so we can go live. Now I may smell like smoke or whatever, camp smoke, but whatever. Be careful what prepping I know this is ironic, right? Be careful what prepping and preps you're showing off on social media, Facebook and the like right now. Again, people are hurting, they're desperate, and they're paying attention. and you don't want to give away information absolutely for free. People in your community, Facebook's the worst, I think, because everybody in your community is probably on Facebook. So if you're posting, a lot of you are gardening now and stuff. If you have this immaculate freedom garden, maybe don't post a ton of pictures on Facebook. Most of you aren't, but it's worth mentioning. Um, First of all, Kristen, Roanoke, been there several times. I don't know how you do it. The traffic, I just don't know how you do it. Zombie 5. Um, they're giving some pretty rough storms tonight and tomorrow. Yeah, thank you for the heads up. Yeah, I've heard. We'll be away from any trees that look suspect and stuff like that. We should be fine. And if we're not going to be several miles away from Jack's crib anyway. Radford, really, a bunch of people from that area then. Huh. Oh, you're posting pictures. Okay. Well, you assume the risk if you do, but teach their own. So survival food, this popped up in my feed yesterday. Survival food companies are having trouble keeping up. So business has been booming for them for a while now. Y'all know around 5 months ago, Augustin Farms announced, "Hey, we're not going to be making survival food for a while." Or they're making it in limited quantities and they're sending it out to certain retailers. You can still find it, but it's not out in the wild like it was. And their website now, you can actually order nothing, not even the water purification stuff. So I don't know how much money that company's making at this point, but they can't get it. Apparently, they can't get it cheaply enough to resell, to dehydrate and resell. So I wanted to mention that if you happen to see a good deal on it out in the wild, you go into a brick and mortar like a Rural King or something, they sell it, Bass Pro sells it, and you find an incredible deal on it, maybe consider picking it up because it's getting harder and harder to find on sale. A lot of it has doubled in price. I picked up several of the 30-day supplies. I think it was ReadyWise last year. I caught them on sale. They were $79, and the same ones now are almost $150. So just to put that into perspective, it is getting more and more expensive. And some of that again is the cost that it's costing them more to produce it, but also people are starting to wake up and realize, hey, okay, there's a food situation globally and here in the United States. And so people that normally wouldn't be buying this stuff up are buying it up. And so that's good for business until they start to run out. I saw that prepping for it. I don't know a ton about the 15% ethanol gas. That's a good question. That's the question I have. Maybe somebody knows. Is it bad for your engine, the engine of your vehicle? Because a lot of them are not set up, I don't think, for 15%. So that's a great question. Let's see. Um, Two-wheel prepper, actually, the ones in my area, they don't have the buckets right now. It's crazy. They sell the packs and stuff for $6 or $7. Those haven't went up, but the buckets have been gone for a while. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about, Wisconsin Farm Boy. 15% is okay if it's designed for it. I'm wondering how many vehicles. Joseph says, yeah, it's bad. That's the first thing that popped into my head because I don't use expensive gas anyway. I use the cheap stuff. I mean, I got an older vehicle. What's the point? And so I'm like, well, I don't know if E15 will mess it up or not. Forrest says, yes, it's bad for your engine unless it's designed to burn it. E85. All right, so that's not good. It just seems like Joe throwing something at the wall, trying to make it stick. He's trying to look as good as possible because the midterms are coming up, and he knows Republicans are going to use Joe Biden as cannon fodder when the ads start popping up. And he's trying to hide it, I think, as much as possible. But if you believe in the integrity of elections, a beatdown's coming, okay? So here on the main channel, like the main splash page or whatever computer nerds be calling it, there's a prepping basics playlist now. I went through and I took, where we were talking about survival food, bunkering in, bugging out, like all the basic stuff. And I wanted to give y'all a heads up on that because several of the videos are a year and a half, maybe even 2 years old. And I'm going to be within the next couple of weeks updating them. More up to date videos. I got less hair than I had 2 years ago, in other words, and better microphones. So I'm going to be updating that stuff, but I did put it on the main page so people can find it. I'm going to be testing. The plan is to test a lot of gear when we go camping, and lessons will be learned because now that it's just us two going, I'm taking the raggedy tent that they just threw in there. Again, they have a bad habit. Jack and James both. They just throw stuff in there. I don't even know if all the stuff's in there. I don't know if all the poles got put back in there or what, but that's the tent I'm going to take, and we're going to make it work one way or the other. And some of the gear is stuff that's came over from BattleBox the last couple of months. I appreciate the 12 people that watched the BattleBox video yesterday. Some people, it's their jam. For most people, it's not, and I totally get it. But they're incredible people offline as well, and I just appreciate, I like working with BattleBox. They're really cool people, and that's the only company I work with. So I just want to give y'all a heads up on that. John, it blocked your engine. That way they can push the new green car. I have no interest in these new green cars. None. None. They're not getting me on that. I'll pay extra in gas or whatever. I just don't like them. They're too small. They're too matchboxish, I guess I should say. Bama Jen, I appreciate that. I really do. I have fun with them. It's a once a month thing, and I have fun with the battle box stuff because it's one day where I'm not talking about gloom and doom and stuff happening on the Brooklyn subway and inflation and stuff. But it's I get it. It's not for most people, and if it's not your thing, I try to market to where it's obvious it's a battle box. That way, the folks, if it's not for you, you can just skip right over it. Biden stickers. So I've seen a lot of these. Y'all seen these stickers? I'm sure you have. That says I did this or I did that, and he's pointing. I've seen these at gas stations, and apparently it's a huge issue now. Gas stations are watching the pumps like a hawk. They hate these stickers for whatever reason. And, liberals will get out and try and scratch them off and stuff. But I've started to see a few of these popping up now in grocery stores. And I'm asking for a friend here. Wink, wink. Is this acceptable? Do we start putting these in grocery stores now? Because I know none of y'all are heathens and do this, right? None of you put these on the gas pumps, but yeah, we need to start posting them everywhere. But yeah, I've they don't remove them where you live. Diddly Squat says they don't even remove them here; they just leave them up. But yeah, I've started to notice these in grocery stores too, just here and there. But I'm thinking, okay, well, he did do it, right? I mean, the guy's still blaming Trump for everything. And I'm like, dude, man, at some point you got to actually take some of the blame here. Not us. That's not too convincing. Yeah, yes, because he did it. Yeah, it's fair enough. That's my thinking. Yeah, I've seen this. They said on CNN, of course, the stickers are graffiti and illegal, and they need to pass legislation. I'm making this part up. They need to pass legislation to outlaw these stickers. Yeah, Roy, the 1984 Thought Police. I figure if they can bombard you at the gas pumps, the video screens on these more high tech gas stations and stuff like Sheets. I'm sitting here talking about Sheets like it's Macy's or something. But anyway, on the screens and stuff, they're throwing liberal propaganda out. They're trying to make you feel a certain way or make you believe a certain way. So us conservatives, we're just a little more low tech. You can get the stickers on Amazon by the hundreds, I think, and they're just going around saying, "Hey, here's what we think." Actually, so I figured y'all would be the ones to ask. Vehicle wraps, yeah, yeah. That's the new normal. JL. They call inflation a good thing, though. I've heard inflation called a good thing. I've heard it called an additional tax. The tax, I don't know, but it's not a good thing. It's not a good sign. You know, this yeah, the stickers are made in China. Everything's made in China, just about, Jennifer. Coming from Amazon at least. John, your thumbnail for this is exactly what I'm trying to do. People need to escape while they still can. And again, I understand some people don't want to, and they have their reasons for it. But if you can and you can afford to, now might be the time to do it, because seems like our country drifting apart. Seems to be two countries just slowly drifting apart. Can't agree on anything, even at the state level now. Yeah, I think that's what burns them up. NC low tech can be useful. I think that's what really makes them mad, because when you put these, not saying that you do, if you do, how dare you, right? But if you put these things out, Google can't suppress that thought. You know what I mean? People can't suppress that. A lot of people are going to see it before you finally have that woman or man with the pink, what do they call them, the vagina shaped toboggans, getting out, and they're like, this is ridiculous and all this stuff. But a lot of people see it before, and people need to know Biden did it. This is my opinion. He did do it. uh, so there's a new trend, and we got to put a stop to this trend, because I don't like this trend coming from teenagers. I don't like this trend coming from 20 something soccer moms and dads. The new trend is migrants. I'm calling them migrants because that's what the news called them. In reality, they're illegal aliens. Once they get into our country, they hop the fence or whatever, they make a run for it. um, they're crossing the border, and then they're stopping long enough to take a selfie. Hey, I made it. I'm finally home. And then they're taking selfies. And now it's a problem, because there's just something annoying about the whole selfie thing anyway, to me. It's a personal thing for me. And now to have migrants sneaking into our country and doing this, it's just like rubbing salt in the wound, you know? Being invaded, this would be like an invading army stopping across the border and taking a selfie. Um, Guardian of Chaos, do you think there's a potential of a 3-day complete blackout? I think we're going to see blackouts. I don't know that it would be nationwide. I think if we see blackouts, it will be cyber attack related, more than likely. Could be EMP, but probably cyber attack related. And it's going to target specific areas where there are a lot of people living. So I don't know that it would be national. Now, if we go to war or something, that could totally change. Um, it's not a selfie. It's called taking a lonely. Nobody can take your picture for you. Well, that's one way of looking at it, I guess. Yeah, I agree. Michigan lifestyle. When we do see a blackout, it's probably going to be much longer than 3 days. 3 days to me is more weather related. If there's a cyber attack or a hack or something, and it takes part of the grid down in the United States, you're looking at weeks or potentially even months, because they've got it put together with like shoestrings and bubble gum and stuff. A lot of the grid is shaky anyway. Red Tyrant, you will definitely see small area blackouts during a boots on the ground. Yeah, and they'll target specific things. Well, I mean, we've seen that recently in Ukraine, but the United States does this as well. When we're going in, we black out certain areas. Um, Amber Z, they have to abolish the old system to bring in the new digital one. I know, and I hate it, with more security. And I think that would involve grid down for a few days. Okay, that's interesting. Um, so an inside job, in other words, which is believable. I don't put anything past them. And finally, the last thing I have here before the poll, Sweden has announced it will apply for NATO membership. Why is this important? Because Russia's already threatened them with violence and war if they apply for NATO. So keep an eye on that whole area. Uh, Sweden and Norway and all of that. Not good. Finland, I think, as well. So the poll this morning has these. They're calling for a surge in violence. They're saying it's going to happen this summer in mainstream media. I guess because of the warm weather. But has the surge in violence changed your vacation plans whatsoever? 57% of the live crowd says vacation. What's that? We're too busy paying taxes and being worked to death. 19% said, yeah, it don't matter. I'm strapped up 24/7, 365. You're sleeping with it under your pillow at that point. 16% say, no, I'm still going on vacation. And 9% say, yeah, it's affected the way, maybe you're not going on vacation. Maybe you're going to a different spot or something. We're going to try and go at least once. We're going to try and get down to Tennessee, where Backwoods is at, or Back to the Woods, I should say. And I got to see that fancy new sign, but it's going to be a minute because we're still paying our taxes off, which sucks. So the taxes has affected us more than anything else. And that, Nicole B, that is a great vacation in itself. I'll be in the woods. Bama Jen was away from the internet for a few days. I think Prepper Days said they're getting ready to do the same thing. I miss y'all, but I'll be glad to be away from, to be disconnected for a few days. We can talk about it, Amelia, the bird flu. I don't have anything linked, but they're saying that by the time this bird flu thing runs its course, that it's going to be worse than the C-19 was. The C-19, as they said in mainstream media, is just a warm-up for the bird flu. Now, I don't know how much, accuracy there is to that statement. I don't know, but I think that if there's a bird flu, it's been planned for a while. This is my gut feeling. Yes, I do believe it. Where'd that comment go? The Amish in Missouri have ran out of 50-pound sacks of wheat berries. Yeah, I can believe it. You can get them online. They've went up substantially in price. Yeah, he is crafty. He knows what he's doing, Amelia. Bill Gates, probably just got flagged, is a crafty dude. Manufacture the problem, provide the solution, and he is brazen enough to tell you about it ahead of time. He'll tell you years in advance. Well, we can probably expect this, or we can probably expect this. I'd say so because he's got a hand in developing it, and then we see it. So I don't like the man, but yeah, he stays on top of the bird flu and the food. I don't like Gates, but it's worth paying attention to what he says in interviews and things because he's telling you what's coming. And he does it with that stupid smirk on his face. These people rule us through fear and division. I'm sure y'all know this. Yeah, red tyrant hunter, and it's affecting the food supply on top of it. So it's a double whammy for them. You know what I mean? They get to create this thing. In my opinion, that's what they're doing or have done. But then they get to attack the food supply, which again pushes you toward fake meat. Rock, thank you for pointing that out. We must have a lot of Joe Biden fans in the house. If you hadn't shot a thumbs up or down, you're riding with Biden. It is official. He is, yeah, Joni. Um, he's one of them. He is one of them. Oh, yes, Gates and Doctor what do we call him? Doctor F himself? What a fitting name. Yeah, that, Fauci, he's starting to show back up in the news now. They're starting to plaster his photo everywhere again. It has been that way for a long time, Robin. White collar war against the common people. You have your ruling class, and then you have your worker drones. And we're worker drones. I hate to break it to you. We're the folks that are doing the actual lifting in this country, and we're enriching the ruling class. And again, it's been that way for quite a while. Darth Fauci. What's going on in China? So White Rusky, I guess I'm saying that correctly. Shanghai is the main deal right now in China. They're starting to lift, they say at least. It's hard to tell because the news coming out of China ain't always accurate. You know, you get state sponsored stuff, but they're saying that they're starting to lift some of the restrictions. The people are still locked down. And somebody was asking a few days ago how the people are eating if they're locked down in their homes. You know, you're locked down, how are you eating? So you're wholly dependent on the government. In theory, they are taking food to your doorstep. But the reality is, a lot of social media has popped up and said they're not bringing food to certain neighborhoods or certain buildings or whatever. So you're literally sitting there, locked in your apartment, starving, waiting on the government to take care of you. And somebody brought it up last week and said, you know, this is what would happen if we didn't have a Second Amendment. And I totally agree. Think about that for a second. The C-19, when they were instituting lockdowns and things, or trying to, and all the restrictions, I know all of y'all didn't play ball. Imagine if we didn't have a Second Amendment, what that would have looked like for us. They probably would have padlocked us in our homes at that point. We cannot let the Second Amendment fall. The stuff that happened yesterday morning, again, that's, to me, that's not a gun problem. People were killing people a long time before guns were invented. You know, that's a heart problem. Um, our country doesn't have a moral compass anymore. You know, we've ate a bad diet for so long, and people just don't have any morals. You know, it's like they live without fear, they live without any sort of consequence, and they just doing whatever they want to do. And that's the problem, I think, in this country. And you ain't going to be able to legislate your way out of that. Um, One of the biggest arguments that I get on social media is the separation of church and state, which I do understand. But our founding fathers also understood that our Constitution and the constitutional republic would not stand unless we were a religious or at least a moral people. And when you start to get away from that and you start to do stuff that goes against that, the country's going to fall, and that's what we're seeing right now. Rachel, that's an excellent question. Why don't they have to get the C-19 shots? No idea. Um, I guess that makes me illegal because I'm not doing it. Yeah, Robin, that's fair. Our Second Amendment is just a fraction of what it used to be, but there's still enough of it there to where they can't forcefully lock us all down. Um, they're going to keep chipping at it. We can't let them have what's left of it. We need to take the rest of it back if you want to know the truth. Patriot Gal 2020, without the second, we don't have the first. No, we're getting to the point where we don't have the first anyway. Um, you should be able to speak your mind, but I'll give y'all a crazy situation. So I found out my daughter was like, I got her a Republican shirt, okay, but it doesn't have anything hateful on it. It just has the elephant. And I got it for her. She loves it. She says, I can't wear it. I said, what are you talking about? She said, "I'll get dress coded at school." Our principal allows liberal stuff to be worn, the inclusion and diversity and even BLM stuff. But if I wear this, they're going to dress code me. And I didn't know this. So I'm like, well, okay, the next sporting event we go to, I'll be sure to wear something just to get under the principal's skin on this. But they've tried to take our voice away. And we can't just sit in the corner and let that happen. We got to start speaking up. As Sweet Tea Audit's saying, we need to take back our rights and freedoms. And the first thing people are going to say is grab a gun, and no, we don't need to do that. The first thing that we need to do is we need to speak the truth. We need to speak the truth as loud as possible everywhere we possibly can. We need to teach our kids the truth. We're this country's living a lie right now, and that's why we are failing. That's one of the many reasons why we are failing. We need to start speaking the truth and not be afraid to offend anybody anymore. You're absolutely right. I wear what I want. The bitter critter. Yeah, I understand, but that's just the situation. And we're kind of in a conservative area, and this is going on in schools. So I can't imagine in a liberal area, but schools have gotten to that point now where they're kind of playing one side and not the other. And that sucks. And I'm like, no, like I tell my son, I said, don't beat people over the head with it. But he said, we can't mention Jesus in school. I said, oh yeah, mention it. If that's what you believe, mention it. It's totally corrupted, Amber. I wish I would have linked this now. I just saw where China made a huge financial investment into like 2 dozen. It was just the other day, 2 dozen of our top level colleges here in the United States. And it's so they can indoctrinate people. People go to college, and yeah, no violence, folks. We don't need to be violent. That's the thing. I don't promote violence on this channel. I promote you using your voice because your voice is more powerful than violence. Look what they've done to us. They haven't used violence against us. They've used their voice and they've taken ours away. Right? They've beaten us at that game. So we may get to a point where violence is the only solution, but we're not there yet. We need to speak up. We need to fight for our country using our voice. That's why they're trying to take it away from us. They're coming after the First Amendment more so than they are guns right now because they fear the First Amendment more than they do guns. The Second Amendment, that's a fail-safe, okay? If I ain't offensive, I ain't trying. There you go. If you're not on a list, if you haven't been ghosted or been putting time out on social media, you're not doing it right. Yeah. Marie, I just tweeted out on Twitter, I think it was earlier this week, or retweeted or whatever. But if you want paper books, get them now. If there's a book you haven't read that you're interested in, or something that is a good book, maybe you've read it and you want your kids or your grandkids to read it one day, you better get it now because it's not going to be available. As things switch over to digital, they are going to heavily monitor what's going on. And I think that's why China has invested in these colleges, man. Our kids, even if we raise them right and we teach them to be conservative, they go off to college thinking they're getting a grade A education. And it's an indoctrination camp 9 times out of 10. And they come out of college and they think completely different. They've had 4 years plus of brainwashing. And so this is a problem. Yeah, gray wolf survival, I understand. And, that came from like you said, Jefferson. And then after, he made that clarification, there needs to be separation. Then he went to church. And a lot of people misinterpret the separation of church and state, which I do think there needs to be a separation, but it's not there to protect the state from the church. It's there to protect the church from the state. That's specifically why that was brought up in the first place. Well, there needs to be action also, Quest. I understand what you're saying, but it's got to be legal. You know, if you go out and you do something illegal, action wise, you're going to be put in prison. I promise you. And they're going to use you as an example, and that's going to fuel the fire on the other side. You know, they're going to say conservatives have they're going to paint all conservatives that way. They're going to say they've all lost their mind, just like they did the insurrectionists, right? And they're saying people were insurrectionists, the ones that were outside picketing legally. It turned into a huge witch hunt. And the thing is, most of the people that, were at the Capitol, they didn't break the law. They were outside the building, they were filming, they were protesting, they were doing it legally. But because a few people did it illegally, now everybody's painted with a broad brush. You understand what I'm saying? No, it wasn't. Albert, I understand what you're saying. It wasn't. It took a revolutionary war. But then they wrote the Constitution so we wouldn't have to have another Revolutionary War. That's literally why the Constitution's there. You guaranteed these rights. You have the right to speak freely. So what I'm saying, brother, is if you go into a situation, don't be afraid to speak up because you have that right. Just because it upsets everybody in the room, it doesn't matter. If it's the truth, speak it. That's already been fought for. You shouldn't have to fight for that right twice. You already have that right. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm saying. And again, we may reach a point where talking's not enough anymore. I'm not I'm not trying to avoid the inevitable. I'm just saying there's probably going to come a time, Red Tyrant, when that needs to happen. We'll know when it's time. People are always asking, when is it time? When's enough? We will know. There will be no question whatsoever at that point. Mames, now I miss the 80s. Now you got me thinking about the 80s, man. You really do. You got me thinking about the 80s hardcore. Elliot, that's fair. Sorry, big nation. Unfortunately, we have never been free, and soon many will go from bondage to slavery. So I think that a lot of I think this is the freest country on earth, but a lot of the freedoms that we think we have, it's an illusion. So I agree with you to an extent on that. Yeah. I think we're not as free as many people would like to believe. You will know when it's time, when there's a different flag flying. For example, you've got the Chinese flag flying at the White House, or if they say, "Hey, it's time to rewrite the Constitution," then it's time, you know, or they say, "We're stripping the Second Amendment away," then it's time, or the First Amendment, then it's time. If they're kicking you, they starting to kick people's doors in and confiscate stuff, then it's time. But right now, it may not seem like a peaceful time in this country, but I think it's more peaceful than the times that are coming. And so right now, while it's more peaceful, use your voice. It's your most important weapon right now. And I understand that, Red Tyrant, but at the same time, you can be clever about things without going to full blown. 1776 should be the last resort, not the first. So the trucker convoy, for example, I'm going to use Canada as an example because theirs seemed to work a lot better. They shut everything down. They brought the tyrants to their knees within 2 weeks, to the point where the tyrants were backing off of mandates. you can be clever and legal about things and still get things done, which is why I don't think it's quite time yet to go 1776. Harold, welcome to the coffee club. We got to make them be heard, Kelly. Everywhere that we go, we've got to make them be heard. We've got to wear stuff that speaks the truth. We were just talking about the stickers. They can't stand these stickers. These Biden I did that stickers. They can't stand it because that's us using our voice. We need to go to school board meetings when they have the public come in to speak at school board meetings. And if they won't let you speak at the school board meeting, the next school board meeting, you set up outside and you give information on homeschooling. That'll be heard by many people. And that's something the schools do not want because they lose funding. There are ways to combat this using your voice. But we have to make sure that we're using our voice. Speaking out puts you on a list. Yeah, I don't care. They can put me on 1,000 lists. They can underline my name. I don't care. They're not going to take my voice away. That's the thing. You have to get to the point where you don't care if you're put on a list. It's a badge of honor at some point. Never look back at your birthday? Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. American Oma, Canada is now going after independent media. Get basic with it. So when we had our 1776, before we did that, Thomas Paine printed off pamphlets and just left them. He didn't put his name or anything on there. You can get the message out. We've got to get the message out. We've got to break through this. There's one narrative coming down. We basically have propaganda. This is Tucker Carlson. I just heard him last night say Elon Musk seems to be our only hope. I don't like Elon Musk. That dude is not my only hope. I'm not going to put my faith in Elon Musk to save this country or free speech. I would rather do it myself. Thank you, BJM. Well, not on school grounds, but no, I'm going to make it well known that I'm conservative when I go, and I don't care if she likes it or not. We are heard. They try to ignore us. Pay close attention to November. I know a lot of people say elections don't work, okay? And I get that argument. And I'm kind of on board with that argument. But at the same time, we saw a senator from New Jersey, get into Congress, and he was a regular guy. I think he was a truck driver. It took him $100 to get elected. That was his campaign fund. When people are pissed and they're fed up and they roll out to the polls, these people can't hide the votes. You look at Virginia, okay? A lot of shady stuff going on, but so many people up in Virginia were so mad about what the school systems had done and tried to cover up that they flipped red. Okay, so it is possible, I think, through elections to make change to a degree. Okay, I don't think elections are going to fix the country, but I do think that we're going to see some flipping over to red this November. I think there will be so many people rolling out that they will not be able to cover everything up. VR Lab Girl, yeah. I mean, and again, some people will say it doesn't matter. Don't vote. It doesn't matter. Well, then don't vote. But don't throw that message out there because you may discourage people from voting. And then, that may hurt the cause of freedom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you can line up for the whiskey shot, you can line up to vote. Now, here's the thing, though. Democrats right now, they're not motivated. I know this because the fundraising letter went out. They're saying our base is not motivated. They're not motivated because Biden is a joke, straight up. Biden and Harris are a total joke for this country. They have ransacked this country since he got into office, and Democrats are going to pay for that at the polls this November. So the Democrats that normally would come out and support candidates, they're going to sit their butts at home. And the Republicans are pissed, and they're going to be coming out in droves. And I think we are going to see some reddening of this country. Now, once those politicians get into power, those Republicans, what they do, I don't know. Maybe they're corrupt. There's no way to know. CR, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying Elon Musk is just, he's being hailed kind of as a savior to free speech, and I don't think we need one guy to do that. I think, we still have free speech. We don't need him to do that. Ink Scars, good morning. How you doing, brother? That is a problem. We don't choose who's running in elections, but at the same time, again, the guy from New Jersey that ran as an independent with $100 in his pocket, now he's a senator. You know what I mean? So it can be done. It's extremely hard. I hate the two-party system because it's all about money. It's all about, hey, will you do us a favor and vote this way, this way? I hate the two-party system. I'm not a fan of it. But if we're given two candidates, all we can do really is choose the better of the two, right? Yeah, that's it. I'll close with this, Roy, but that's right. You got to vote regardless. Good luck with the Dominion stuff. The people that are trying to thieve this country, they want to do it in the darkness. They want to do it behind a curtain. There's a reason they fly illegals around at night and drop them off in places. They're not doing it in broad daylight. They like to operate in the darkness. And so one of the things we can do is use our voice. The other thing is to expose all of that. Maybe don't just go vote, maybe hang out at the polls for the Republican Party and watch the polls like a hawk, you know, a poll watcher, whatever they call them. Do vote. It still matters. Here's the thing. If we don't vote, like if we get to the point where we think voting doesn't matter, what do we do? Yeah. At that point, what do? You have no choice at that point. You become like any other country where you just have no voice at all. So I'm going to at least go out and play the game and vote, and hopefully it works, and hopefully we see a red tsunami coming through. Gary, I'm going to actually close with that. Not a chance, John. We're heading to a COVID-19 election. The conservatives won't win any more elections. If they try to stop this election, if they try to delay it because of the COVID, if they try to go to mail-in ballots only, then in my opinion, it is 1776 time. And I'll leave y'all with that this morning. I appreciate everybody being here as always, and God bless.